Attack of the Clones was at one point in time widely regarded as the worst Star Wars movie, but that was before Leia became the next Mary Poppins and Palpatine somehow returned. Even as a kid, I never really enjoyed this movie. There were definitely moments I loved, but overall I found it boring and cringy. All that being said, I haven't watched this movie in its entirety since I was 17. Maybe now as an adult I can better appreciate what Lucas did with this movie. Let's find out. The movie opens with Padme's decoy getting whacked. Don't worry, it's not Keira Knightley, it's someone else. Captain Panaka never would have let this happen, by the way, unlike Captain Typho's bitch ass. After her decoy is blown to smithereens, Padme rushes to her side and immediately takes her helmet off, which seems ill-advised since you'd think the bounty hunter that carried out this hit would be watching to confirm their kill, but what do I know? Later on, Obi-Wan and Anakin are assigned to protect Padme. Ewan and Hayden have great chemistry in this movie. Say what you will about the dialogue and all that, but when these two are together, the movie is fun. It really seems like the two of them have actually spent the past decade going on Jedi adventures together. Ewan McGregor is the highlight of this movie, per usual when it comes to the prequels, but I was surprised by Hayden Christensen's performance in this movie. I remembered his acting being horrid in Attack of the Clones, but it's honestly not bad. Some scenes are rough, and I mean rough, but overall I'd say he did alright, which is much more than I could say for Natalie Portman. Horrific. It feels like she was in a coma for 1,000 years and then was awoken right before George Lucas yells action. Every line is delivered in the worst way possible. It is truly astounding how bad Natalie Portman is in these movies. Everyone else has at least a couple bright spots to their performances in the prequels, but not her. She is consistently awful throughout, which is odd because in everything she's in outside of the prequels, she's great. Guess it must have been a combination of Lucas being notoriously horrible at directing actors and Natalie Portman really not caring about these movies. Anyways, the trio is reunited for the first time in a decade, and Anakin is very happy about it. He's just relentlessly horny and cringe every time he's around Padme. But hey, it works somehow. He somehow ends Padme. Don't know really how it works, but by the end she marries him, so you know. But that's one of the big problems with Attack of the Clones. It's supposed to be this grand love story between Anakin and Padme, but all of their scenes together, there is zero chemistry. The dialogue is horrendous, and Anakin just comes off as some horned up weirdo. Padme seems put off by him the whole time until partway through the movie, she suddenly falls for him. There was no natural progression of their love, unlike, say, with Han and Leia, where you can see Han's charm and his character shine through that makes Leia eventually fall for him. None of that is present here. Instead, we just have to sit through this abomination of a romance in this movie, which is sadly like half the movie. But anyways, back to what we were talking about with Obi-Wan and Anakin being assigned to protect Padme. Based Obi-Wan tells Anakin not to trust Padme because she's a politician, and you can't trust any of them. They're all dirty, rotten liars. Then we get the most confusing assassination attempt of all time. Dooku hired Jango, who hired Zam, to kill Padme. Zam puts some poison worms in a droid that then inserts said poisonous worms through a window into Padme's room. What I don't understand here is why they're trying to be discreet. They already blew up her ship in broad daylight. Why not just have the droid shoot Padme? Or throw in some thermal detonators? It would have been so easy. Like, they have the shot right there. They drill the little hole in the glass. She's right there sleeping in a weird, awkward position that no one would ever sleep like that. But anyways, easy opportunity to shoot her, blow her up, do whatever. But instead, they want to be all sneaky now. Doesn't make any sense. But because of this scene that makes no sense, we get one of the best parts of the movie, the chase through Coruscant. I love how minutes before all this, Obi-Wan is telling Anakin all about how he needs to be more patient, and they aren't here to solve any mysteries about who's trying to kill Padme. They're just there to keep her safe. But the second Obi-Wan sees Zam's droid, he throws his body through the window to grab the droid. Just the first time he gets a lead, he's like, I'm going after it. Doesn't care about anything else. Doesn't really care about Padme's safety because there could be a follow-up and he's no longer there, and then it would just be Anakin to protect her. He's just like, nah, I'm going for it. It's hilarious. This whole sequence on Coruscant is great. The location of the chase is cool. The banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin is fun. The music hits perfect. I love all of this. And then the conclusion to the chase is fantastic as well. Obi-Wan drawing out Zam by just sitting at the bar playing aloof. It's so good. But there's another logic flaw that happens right after this that perplexes me. When Jango shoots Zam, why did he use a projectile instead of just blasting her? He has a clear shot and he chooses to use a projectile that can then be traced. Seems like a really dumb move from someone who's supposed to be one of the best. Also, the changeling always scared me as a kid. Every time I watched this movie and Zam would shapeshift out of her human form, it would terrify me. Don't know why, don't know if anyone else felt that way, but as a kid, it just scared me. I don't know, it just did. This whole incident causes the Jedi Council to decide to send Padme off planet, which makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that they assign Anakin to be her one and only protector. Imagine asking the horniest Jedi possible to escort Natalie Portman alone. It just seems doomed to fail in my opinion, but I'm no wise master Jedi, what do I know? I'm not afraid to say it. I like the Dexter Jetster scene. It makes the universe feel lived in. Like Obi-Wan has been doing this whole Jedi thing for a while, so he has connections. The whole Detective Obi-Wan part of this movie is cool. Wish George would have focused more on that and less on Anakin and Padme's horrific romance. Watching Anakin try to rizz up Padme during their time together is excruciatingly painful. It's just a tough watch, man. One of my favorite parts of their trip together is when Padme confronts Anakin about hearing him have a nightmare the night before, but Anakin says Jedi don't have nightmares, which, why I like this scene is because earlier, according to Padme, this shouldn't really apply to him because she completely humiliated him in front of everyone on Naboo by specifying that he's not a Jedi, he's a Padawan.
You had another nightmare last night.
Jedi don't have nightmares.
Oh, Anakin's not a Jedi yet. He's still a Padawan learner.
Now, the best piece of acting Hayden Christensen does in this entire movie is on Naboo, right after the whole sand rant. Anakin and Padme kiss, but Padme pulls away partway through, and Hayden gives the most realistic portrayal of a man who's going through all of the emotions of landing a kiss with Natalie Portman and then fumbling her at the same time. Just masterful performance here. Switching between the awful romance plot and the cool Obi-Wan detective plot is not fun. Obi-Wan will be doing something really interesting on Kamino, and then it cuts to a CGI pair on Naboo, and it's just like, what are we doing here? I always get a laugh out of Padme telling Anakin, I will not let you give up your future for me, while she is the hottest person of all time. Just look at yourself. Of course Anakin is willing to throw it all away. Anyone would. I love all the Kamino stuff. Kamino as a setting is dope. Obi-Wan pretending he's there to inspect the clones that he knew nothing about 30 seconds ago is great. Obi and Jango meeting is legendary. Love me some Tamara Morrison. Their fight is so cool. I love the hand-to-hand stuff and just how scrappy the fight is. These boys do not mess around. They lay into each other. This fight is great. Then the chase that falls results in us getting the coolest sound effect in cinema history. Seismic charges should be called orgasmic charges because I'm busting like Jar Jar every time I hear one go off.
Mr. Bustin'.
Most underrated performance in this movie comes from Nathan Hall, who plays Klieg Lars. He does a bang-up job of telling you exactly the type of person Klieg is with minimal screen time. Just some weathered old moisture farmer who legitimately cared about his wife. Let's change pace and talk about the music for a minute. John Williams is the man. He rules. The track that stands out most from Attack of the Clones is Across the Stars. Just a beautiful melody. Purely listening to that track will make you feel so many things. George always did a great job with implementing John Williams' score in his movies, but there's a moment in Attack of the Clones that is among the best. It's when Anakin says his goodbye to Padme right before he starts going after the Sand People. The music starts with Return to Coruscant, when Anakin's sitting there pondering and then talking to Padme, then bleeds into Binary Sunset, when Padme starts hugging him, and then it switches to Duel of Fates when Anakin goes on the hunt. It's nasty how well this is done.
You're gonna have to stay here. These are good people, Padme. You'll be safe.
Anakin.
I won't be long.
If that doesn't get your blood pumping, I don't know what will. This is something I find missing from the sequel trilogy. If you go and listen to the sequel trilogy soundtracks, they're pretty good, but you don't remember any of them from the movies, and that's because they did such a piss poor job at using the music to elevate moments in the films. It feels like they just lazily threw them in there instead of having some care and intention behind why a track was played at a certain time. But as much as the prequels did a whole lot bad, George always nailed it with letting the music shine and elevate the movie. Alright, music tangent out of the way, it's hilarious to hear how they talk about Tusken Raiders in this movie now that the Book of Boba Fett is out. Shmi is kidnapped, beaten to death, probably got sexually abused, all for the crime of picking mushrooms in the desert. But in the Book of Boba Fett, we're told that Tusken Raiders are misunderstood natives with a beautiful culture. Disney has done a lot of dumb stuff with Star Wars, but that's definitely towards the top. Anakin goes after his mom, finds her halfway down the tunnel with the bright light, just holding on long enough to see her son again, and then she passes. Hayden does a good job of conveying a young man watching his mother die in his arms. He then kills everyone. I really wish we could have seen this rampage. I get the movie is only rated PG, but I feel like you could have shown him slaughtering the adults and still kept the rating. Seeing the very start of the rampage and then cutting away pains me every time. It's like, what could have been? Seeing the rampage really would have helped Selv's transition to Vader even more. Then the famous tantrum happens. The acting and the dialogue ain't great here, but I do maintain that
Life seems so much simpler when you're fixing things.
is a good line. George makes it very clear that Anakin is emotionally stunted. He's still that little boy on Tatooine that Qui-Gon found. Back on Coruscant, we get the Palpatine show, and it's glorious. Ian McDiarmid is a joy to watch as always. I don't know if a single person had more fun making the prequels than Ian McDiarmid did. Something I haven't mentioned yet, but I do need to say, is the switch from blue screen, like Coruscant, to actually on location shots like Tatooine is a bit jarring. Just, you can tell the quality difference. Catching up with Obi-Wan, he gets captured. I like Obi-Wan and Dooku's little back and forth, and Dooku's trying to convince him that he's not such a bad guy. You can really see some Qui-Gon-isms in him, and where Qui-Gon got some things from. I like that. Padme and Anakin rush to save Obi-Wan after they get his distress call, which leads us to the factory scene, which is just kind of meh. Feels like this scene doesn't need to be here. Only thing I enjoyed was how R2 tries to kill 3PO instantly after only knowing him for about 10 minutes. Good old R2. Fast forward, we're in the arena. I don't care what anyone says. The arena is fun. I like pod racing. I like the arena. I like this stuff. It's cool and fun. I love how Anakin has been crap talking Obi-Wan behind his back the entire movie, but as soon as he sees him again, he immediately goes in little bro apprentice mode. Padme being the first to escape but not even trying to help Obi-Wan and Anakin is hilarious. She's just like, yeah, these Jedi will figure it out. God, Padme is so hot. I always have a great time with how the Geonosis in the arena are just a bunch of dumbasses. Love that. Never will get tired of that. Finally seeing the Jedi in their prime is cool, even if they get whooped. Everyone who watched the original trilogy before this and heard all about the Jedi had been waiting for this moment, so it was nice to see. Shout out to my boy Coleman Trebor, who just immediately went to murder Dooku, but got blasted by Jango Fett as soon as he tried. He would have saved the Republic a lot of trouble. Valiant effort, my friend. Wish we could have seen Jango do more before Mace executed him. He was so cool, and I liked the bit we got of him, but he felt kind of wasted, which I guess is just the Fett tradition. Watching your dad get beheaded by a big purple lightsaber would be kind of tough, not gonna lie. I don't know how I would cope with that. I feel kind of sorry for Boba. It is great watching the trio fighting these monsters. Then the Jedi and droids show up, but the monsters keep going. They don't care. I especially like how the big green idiot that's chasing after Obi-Wan just gets manhandled as soon as Obi-Wan has a lightsaber. It's this intense fight when he's unarmed, but as soon as Obi-Wan gets a saber, it's over, which is how it should be. The little moments in here are fun too, like the super battle droid just backhanding the normal battle droid. This scene really does put into perspective what Windu said at the beginning of the movie, which is that the Jedi are peacekeepers, not soldiers. They put up a decent fight, but it ain't long before the battle droids and Geonosians take the lead, until the clone army shows up and save the Jedi. Dooku flees, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme go straight after him. Padme and Anakin are so dumb that Obi-Wan has to tell them to hold on when they're under fire. It's just a weird little detail where it's like, we're under fire, we're chasing Dooku. You think they would know to just hold on a bit. But it doesn't really help Padme. She still falls out. Love the way Ewan delivers a line straight to Anakin right after Padme falls out of the ship.
Don't let your personal feelings get in the way.
Then we get the lightsaber battle. We've been waiting for this the whole time. We know it's a George Lucas Star Wars movie. We're going to get a lightsaber battle at the end. I like this battle. I like seeing Dooku dividing and conquering Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's so cool. He just does it effortlessly. It really shows you the level he's on. He just took out the guy who beat Darth Maul in the Chosen One without breaking a sweat. But then Yoda shows up. Side note real quick, that speeder looks weird. Like 2D or something. I don't know. Just looks odd back there. It was driving me nuts when I rewatched this movie again, seeing it back there. I didn't know what. It's just weird. Anyways, I hate the Yoda Dooku fight. I like the idea of Yoda and Palpatine not really needing lightsabers, these two just being beyond all that. But nah, we get Yoda hopping around like an autistic frog. Just looks dumb. And that's pretty much the movie. All that's after this is we see Palpatine and Satan overlooking the clone army. Then we cut to Anakin and Padme getting married to cap everything off. I definitely enjoyed Attack of the Clones much more than I did the last time I watched it. Maybe that's nostalgia. Maybe it's because there have been some even more horrifically bad Star Wars movies that have come out since. I don't know. But I did have a good time watching Attack of the Clones. It tells one of the worst love stories ever put to screen. Some very cringe and just weirdly awkward moments. Boba's a clone for some reason. Bad dialogue and questionable acting. But there's also some good in this movie as well. Pretty much everything with Obi-Wan is quality. Palpatine is a blast to watch. Dooku's pretty cool. I love the new planets we get in this one, just like with all the prequels. It's just, you see so many missed opportunities. They really should have kept Obi-Wan and Anakin together throughout the film. The chase on Coruscant, the arena, seeing them two together makes for some of the best moments in this movie. But instead, that gets sacrificed for the awful Padme-Anakin romance. I feel like you could have accomplished that while keeping Obi-Wan with them. Them two trying to hide their growing love behind Obi-Wan's back could have been interesting. Instead, we get Anakin being openly horny and Padme not reciprocating at all until randomly she's just in love with Anakin. But in the end, is this a good movie? No, not really. But I will say it's a fun movie. At least for me anyway. I am now at a point in my life where Attack of the Clones is a fun watch, even if it isn't the most well put together movie. But that's my thoughts on the movie. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. What do you think of Attack of the Clones? What was your favorite part of the movie, and what is your least favorite part of the movie? What's the best and worst part of the movie for you? And I'm really curious. So many years removed from this movie. It's been like 21 years, I think, at this point since it came out. What are you guys' thoughts on Attack of the Clones? How do you feel about it now? I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you to everyone who watched the video all the way through. It means a lot to me. And thank you to anyone that likes or comments on it. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.